Yeah, hey everybody, wake up. This is Wake Up with Mark Joyner, episode number 40, and today we will discuss the biological cost of being butthurt. All right, so, man, this is a funny one today in a number of ways. So, slept a little later last night than I needed to for various reasons. Don't need to get into that. And messed up my routine. And it's my own fault. And I'll tell you, there's a little story here. All right. So you guys may be familiar with this saying. This is often attributed to the Buddha, but the origins of this quote are up for dispute. Who knows who is responsible for saying this? It is one of these great pieces of wisdom floating around the ether, this morphogenic field perhaps we are all connected to. Who knows where it came from, doesn't matter, but it's beautiful. There is wisdom and genius in it. And it goes, I'm paraphrasing, holding on to resentment is like drinking poison and expecting the other person to die, right? Whether the Buddha said that or the Dalai Lama said that or whoever said that, it's deep, it's beautiful, it's wise. It's wonderful. I'm glad it's out there in the field and that somehow it found its way into my consciousness. But there's a lot more to this than meets the eye on the surface. There are micro costs of these things. When we hear that phrase, we think about somebody who's like holding a grudge for a really long period of time. But micro grudges can be just as bad for a number of reasons. First off, every time you feel anger and resentment or annoyance, there is a biological cost with these things. One way that we analyze this is that we are aware that it raises your cortisol levels, and cortisol is a chemical that is associated with stress. And we know that that can lower your immune response, it can lower your ability to recover from exercise, can have all sorts of negative consequences in the body. But we have to be careful with these things, because when we say something like cortisol is bad, that is not the complete picture. There are actually positive roles for cortisol in the body. There are times when we need stress. There are times when we need anger and aggression. We need to be able to tap into these things. Like I always like to say, causality is not binary, it is multivariate. Everything is a little more complex than we think. So don't get the notion in your head that cortisol is bad, right? Or that it's always bad, or that that anger is always bad. Sometimes there are appropriate times for anger. I'll give you an example. When we were in the Army, we used to have this thing that we'd call Army Theater, right? And Army Theater was this little game that we would play with soldiers. If a soldier is not performing well, we would sometimes act like we were really pissed off to get this guy to be a little bit motivated. Sometimes with some people, you got to bring a little fire in there to show them that you're not fucking around, right? That you're serious and that you're not to be toyed with, because there are people who will toy with you endlessly if you are the nice, kind guy who's always gentle and is always accepting of everything. We get into these extremes of things. Any of these extremes are almost always going to end up getting us into trouble, right? There is a time to be a little bit pissed off. There is a time for forgiveness. There is a time for love. There's a time for joy. There's a time for anger. There's a time for all these things. These are tools in your toolbox of life. So let me tell you how I misused some tools this morning. So when I woke up, first thing I did not look at my little calendar that brainwashes you first thing. And that was my first big error, because if I had done that, it would not have sent me careening off in a direction that really messed up my whole morning. I remembered that I needed to do a cryptocurrency purchase. I don't need to get into why, long story. But I went in and I went to make this purchase, and there was a little trouble with the credit card. And this has happened 3 or 4 times now, because I'm traveling around a lot, and banks don't like it when you buy crypto, and they always kind of treat you a little bit like a criminal when you do. But there's this company that I trust when I buy crypto, because they give me my funds instantly. And 3 times now I've called up the bank and told them, hey, I'm in Thailand, and here's my number to verify things. And if you ever see a transaction with this company, it's probably fine. So I got up and I thought, well, I'm just going to take a minute here to do that crypto transaction. I don't know why I did that. Normally what I do is I do my little calendar, and then I get in and I go, boom, I go right in and I start doing some creative work. And this happens at about 4 a.m. And that, again, that creative work time is critical for me, that 4 a.m. to 6 a.m. block. Man, I get so much done. But I have to be disciplined about that. I can't go do something else. I can't get on Facebook, because that one little tiny something else can send you off in the wrong direction. You all know sometimes, man, you check Facebook once, just to check one little tiny thing, and then before you know it, you're off in some rabbit hole, researching all kinds of stuff that you don't need to be researching, and laughing it up with your friends or whatever. And that's cool, that's fine, but that's probably not the purposeful thing that you need to be doing a lot of the time. So my card gets rejected. I get on the phone with these guys, and and it was just a big cluster, right? The phone number that they had for me on file was not being accepted, and finally, it took me about literally 2 hours on the phone with these guys, and I'm trying to use my time wisely as I'm sitting there waiting, getting things done. But I'm getting a little bit annoyed. I'm getting a little bit butthurt, right? And I'm catching myself as I'm doing this, and I'm laughing. And but I did notice these feelings coming up, and this is the thing. If you notice the feelings coming up, and it's not useful, it did me no good at all to be butthurt and annoyed about this situation, because it's not like this lady who was frankly being a little bit rude on the phone. I mean, from moment one, she had this kind of nasty tone, that some people get, when you call up, there are some beautiful customer service folks that treat you well and respectful, and they put you in a better mood, and I love those people. And that's what I tell my people and my teams, by the way. I say, when you are interacting with people, you are going to affect their life. And here's what I want you to do. I want you to make their day better. I want them to feel like they are grateful for the fact that they had an interaction with my company, with Simpleology, when they called up. And there are people who come in all the time, they're like, man, I love your customer service people. They always make me feel good. Well, that is part of our culture. That is a criteria that I establish. My guys do that because they are trained to do that, because they know how important it is, because they know they are affecting other people's lives. Now, this lady was not like that, man. She had this tone, and it was kind of getting under my skin a little bit. So I thought, why are you treating me like a criminal? Anyway, finally got it all sorted out, but by the time it was sorted out, the sun was already up a little bit. I missed my normal routine. So not only did I not get this, focused creative work done that I needed to get done, all right, I messed up my routine a little bit. I did it, but later than I normally like to do. I like to watch the sun as it actually rises. There are some people who think that if you watch it as it's rising, that Robert Winton Hunt is the guy who turned me on to this. This is some Jack Kruse wisdom. So thank you, Robert, for turning me on to that. But there is this notion that if you watch the differential of the sun, it's not just watching the sun, it's watching the sun as it changes, as it is rising. There's something about that stimulates the hormonal production in our brains. This is one of the current hypotheses that people who are deep down the rabbit hole of the impact of light on health are coming up with. And so, at the end of this whole thing, I was laughing at myself, a little bit disappointed with myself. But here's the thing, all right? I could have chosen to react to this in a very different way. Now, years ago, I probably would have been sitting there for 2 hours fuming about this thing, feeling all self-righteous. Why are they doing this to me? Why is it happening to me? Right? And I don't know, maybe this lady's malicious. It's possible. Who knows, right? Maybe she's just having a really bad day too. Maybe her system isn't linked up the right way. Maybe she had access to the wrong information. There's a million and one reasons why this happened the way it happened on their end. I don't have any control of that. I can fantasize about that. I can make up all kinds of stories, but making up a negative story about it, like the kind of story we make up when we're on the road, when that guy cuts us off, when we're like, hey, F you, buddy, we think that he's doing it just to spite us, right? When he doesn't really care. He's just trying to get somewhere just like us, right? But we're making up this story in our minds. But what's really important is the fact that this is all my fault. And it's not just the reactions I was having, it was the fact that I didn't stick to my routine in the morning. There's a reason why I have these routines. There's a reason why these are rituals. I have thought these things through very deeply after observing myself over many, many years. I know the things that are going to make my day productive, and I know the things that are going to make my day unproductive. And I know that when my days are not productive, I don't feel good when I sleep at night. My sleep is not as restful, right? My mood is not as good. I don't feel as good about myself because I'm not getting as much out of myself as I need to. But it all was because of me. All of it. Every little bit of it. It ain't because of the bank, all right? It ain't because of whatever circumstances made me sleep later last night. Okay, that's a whole other story. It ain't any of that. It's all me. It's all in my mind. It's all the decisions that I made. And when you look at your life that way, man, I tell you what, you recapture a tremendous amount of power that most of us give up voluntarily. Don't do that, man. Do not do it. All right, you guys, that's it for today. I will talk to you all tomorrow. You have a beautiful day because I'm going to have a really awesome day for the rest of the day today because I'm choosing to. All right, take care, guys.